Yo, 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 what is going on, people? Welcome to Throwdown Your Questions, episode 479. I'm your host, Tony Polanco, and tonight I'm joined by Emilio Lopez.
Sup, people? How's it going?
Carlos Romero.
Yo, yo, yo.
And Brian Manjoma.
What up, what up?
All right, people, you already know, back with another one. So Richard will be joining us shortly. He is watching WrestleMania, but Carlos told me the main match just ended, so he should be here soon. I believe Brett is still at that. He's either at the tattoo convention or probably recovering from the tattoo convention since it is Sunday night.
I would suspect he's either in transit or he's probably, usually, at least for me, whenever I've done any sort of conventions, I usually don't come back the day it ends. I usually, give a travel day like Monday and then come back that day.
Yeah, that's what I'm assuming. And, either that or he's resting. Either way, we've done Comic Cons before. We know the deal. And Chris, we don't know what's going on with Chris. He didn't answer.
I mean, Chris has got guests. Yeah. Chris has got guests over until possibly for the week. So, I mean, we probably may not see him until until the following Thursday. Well, just pop him a line and see what's up. But it's mostly just because of he's got guests over.
Yeah, so long. It's because you know how initially he had guests over because of the eclipse. I'm like, that's a long eclipse, but now you might not hang out.
It's not the eclipse. It's because the eclipse happens on Monday.
I thought it happened already. Gotcha.
No, the eclipse happens on Monday, and it's supposed to be a pretty decent one, depending on the location. Over here in Pennsylvania, it's you get like a small sliver of light around it. In Austin and Texas, they're getting full eclipse. You can't see anything. It just
pretty cool.
Okay,
I didn't know that. Okay, cool. So it's happening.
Yeah. So if the lights go, if it all of a sudden gets dark at around, it says it's supposed to start at like 3:00 or something like that. It should you should get like some sort of crescent or something like that over there in New York.
Yeah. Hopefully you don't get a fucking earthquake like we did on Friday.
Oh no, man! The world is going to end because we get earthquakes, and now we got an eclipse happening. Who knows what else will happen?
All that ancient Mayan stuff is
cats
happening.
And dogs living together, mass hysteria.
That earthquake was funny because I'm just here. Because I work from home on Fridays, and my apartment started shaking. My first thought was like, man. Fucking construction downstairs, man. He's got, down the street, they're going crazy right now. But it kept going. Like, my TV was wobbling. I'm like, it's kind of weird. Like, the fucking neighbor's going crazy or something. And then it kept going. I'm like, maybe it's the subway. I'm like, wait, the subway's like further down. It's not even close to me. And then I was like, that was strange. Went back to my normal work. And then like a second later, in our Slack room for work, one of the girls, New Yorker, she was like, did we just have an earthquake? And then everybody's like, yeah, we did. I'm like, oh shit, it was an earthquake. Here's the thing. I've been living in New York since 1987. This is the first one I felt because all the other ones that have happened, I've apparently slept through. They always keep happening early in the morning. But this is the first one I experienced. I'm like, Also showed me that I keep my things relatively, the only thing that moved in my apartment was my TV. Everything was fine because I kind of keep things kind of centralized. I also don't have like weird light stuff. So interesting. I didn't expect that. I love how I went through everything, every possibility except earthquake. That was the only one I didn't land on because that's not a thing here, really.
Yeah. I mean, it's I remember one year, like a few years ago, when we were still living in Bayside, and and then there was another one out here, and I think the one that happened years ago was the one that church collapsed in Washington D.C. when Obama was still president. It wasn't a horrible one, but it was enough. I think the earthquake was in that area, and that's where it was that's why it got bad. This one was, in Jersey, and then there was another one years and years ago when we were still in like middle school.
Yeah,
and there was one that happened then, and that one was actually in New York.
Yeah. See, I remember. I didn't feel it though. I was sleeping at the time, but yes, I do remember when that one happened. I kind of know that because again, they're so rare. It's kind of a big deal. But yeah.
I mean, we don't on the East Coast. There's no real substantial fault lines.
Not really. One thing I found out, interestingly enough, every building in New York made after 1990 is earthquake resistant. But obviously, that still leaves thousands of buildings that are not earthquake resistant.
Well, I mean, the Empire State Building's not earthquake resistant.
No,
It's just a freaking
it's
heavy
not.
as shit building.
No, it's not. Thankfully, my building
So does
was
that
made
mean all
3
those
years ago, so I'm good.
Does that mean all those dumb skinny skyscrapers are all earthquake resistant too? Because
Apparently.
they look like because it looks like those buildings look like they'll blow. Like as soon as a hard wind happens, they'll look like they'll fucking fall over.
Oh, the ones next to Central Park?
Yeah, the ones next to Central Park,
Billionaires Row.
Millionaires Row.
Yeah, man, it's funny you mention that because I was watching a documentary about how they are actually wind resistant since they're so tall and light. They kind of had to have like this newer technology and stuff to make them resistant against. I think there's some floors that don't even have anything, just so the wind could just rush through them. So yeah, they kind of for that.
My mom years ago, when she was she used to work at Madison Square Garden. Well, at one point, the company was bought by Paramount, and they moved all of her department over to the Paramount building, which is right over that. I can't remember what stop it is next to Central Park. Anyway, one time, there was this crazy windstorm, and she got immensely sick. She felt like she was seasick because literally the building was swaying. Yeah.
Shit, that's crazy, man. All right, so let's get into it. For some reason, we got a lot of Xbox related questions this week, so I kind of stacked them all up at the beginning of the show. So we're gonna talk about Xbox for a little bit. Starting us off here, Mr. Kiss Shack. He goes, is PlayStation going to be the only publisher with the exclusive, quote, 40 FPS or performance mode available on their games this generation? Why can't Xbox do the same for its players? I think when he says 40 FPS mode, that's the kind of joke we made on Thursday. I was like, yo, you have 30 FPS, you have 60 FPS. Why not 45 FPS instead of, 40? Just give me a little something. But yeah, no, we discussed how a lot of PlayStation first-party games tend to have performance modes, and then we even ran through the list of Xbox exclusives, Xbox Series X exclusives, and none of them have it, which is very interesting. So I guess the main, it's a two-part question. Will PlayStation be the only publisher? I mean, there's only really, if you're talking about the big three, Nintendo, I don't think they have any performance modes in their fucking games. But yeah, why don't we see this in Xbox games? Very interesting, isn't it? And I don't even know if I'm wondering.
I'm wondering if it's a situation with their with their lower tier platform. Yeah. And maybe it also could be. Here's the thing: they've had performance modes when they've had lower tier versions of their consoles. But what makes this different? Maybe the fact that the situation is that they don't want to spend the additional time to essentially do one of those modes.
Maybe.
Who knows? Because
Blitz goes with Xbox games. Like Starfield doesn't have a performance mode. Redfall eventually got one. And there was a couple others that we named. We're like, these games don't have. Hellblade is not going to have a performance mode, So
Hi-Fi Rush doesn't have a performance mode either. It just is what it is, whatever they decided to program it as.
Yeah, I didn't think about that before, but it's very interesting. I don't know. Yeah, maybe it is because of the S, but like you said, they had lower spec consoles before, but. Hold on, does that count though? Didn't performance mode become a thing with the iterative consoles or whatever?
Yeah,
that's when it really became
mostly.
A thing. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah,
what do you think, Carlos?
It's a good question because I feel like it could be the S and X sort of idea because they have to develop for two systems just by default. So maybe developing by two systems and then having a performance mode and a quality mode being tested for that release at the same time. Maybe the Xbox said it's not worth the time and development to get all of that ready. But nothing definitive for me. Thinking, I don't remember Phil Spencer ever saying anything about that, or
no.
right? Even the Xbox or even the ponies don't use that as ammo in the console wars. So it's a pretty interesting question. Maybe this question will spark up the new fire between the good old plastic warriors.
Yeah, it's like why doesn't Xbox have performance modes? Very interesting. Yeah, Brian, what's your take on this, man?
It's a very good question because I honestly don't know, because I'm certain that even third-party games have a performance mode on Xbox.
Yeah.
So it's interesting because to me that says that it's not a limitation of the actual platform. It's more limitation of the developers, I guess, since at that point that's all that's different, right? The hardware is the same, different developer, different game, but makes no sense.
That's a good you bring up a good point. Third-party Xbox games, some of them have performance modes. What's up with their first-party games? Right? Because you would think like, oh, maybe they're being held back by the S. If that was the case, then how come third-party games are able to do it? I don't know. Great question. I don't think any of us can answer. Very interesting, you know?
I'll send a letter to Phil and ask.
Yeah, let's ask Phil, you know? But if you guys in the chat have any thoughts, let me know. Jolly Yellow Nerd, he goes, maybe their thought is if you want performance mode, play it on PC through Game Pass. Maybe, but how does that answer third-party games that do have performance mode on Xbox? Right? If it wasn't for that, the question might be a little simpler to answer.
Well, maybe I think what Jolly Yellow Nerd means is like Xbox is developing a game. Let's say Hi-Fi Rush, or even a Senua's Saga, the new one that's coming out.
Yeah.
It's 30 frames per second, and it's one mode for the S and the X. But maybe their line of thinking is, well, this game is also releasing on PC day one, so that's the performance mode is whatever the PC crowd gets to put when you have those higher end rigs. Maybe.
But I mean, that's a good point. But at the same time, it's also kind of fucked up. It's like, hey, console guys, if you want performance mode, get it on PC. You know?
Yeah, it could be. I mean, it just depends on what is it a standard now, or is it like, should we be expecting this, or because it's just one of those things that was good to, like nice to have. I don't know if it's one of those things that if we should deem the standard of releasing a video game these days.
Yeah,
maybe it should. I don't know.
It's a good question. Blitz says must be priorities in development, and adding modes is not high for Xbox. Maybe. I mean, literally any reason we come up with is as valid as any other, because we honestly don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I couldn't tell you. Like maybe they feel that they should just like what they just said. Like maybe they just want to be like, okay, yeah, just the PC one is if you want performance mode. But yeah.
Yeah. Bliss says they are just trying to get their games out, finishing out, so probably not a priority and seen as something to be added later, like New Game Plus. Maybe, but again, what about third parties then?
Like Hi-Fi Rush has been out for a year now. That didn't get all of a sudden get a performance mode.
That's right. And to your point, with the exception of like Redfall, most of these games don't get a performance mode after the fact. Starfield hasn't gotten one. And they never. I don't think it will either.
Maybe they consider the Series X as the performance mode.
But it's just, yeah,
the base one is the Series S. That's vanilla mode, and performance mode is the Series X.
Yeah, but they're both running at 30 FPS on both, so it's not really a performance mode. I don't know. Very interesting.
Some people were calling out the fact that there's actually a slight. Not a performance boost, but a fidelity boost in Hi-Fi Rush. Apparently, the shadow quality on the PlayStation version is actually better than it is on the two Xbox consoles.
Ooh. Yeah, that's graphical. What about the performance on it? Is it the same?
It does. It runs at 60, just like the other one.
Okay, so the other one's running at 60.
Yeah, the other one's
so I guess if that game was running at 60, it wouldn't need a performance mode then.
I mean, it's a bare bones like
Yeah.
sort of like game. Like it doesn't have have ray tracing. If it does have any reflections, they're screen
Well, that's
space
graphical
related.
stuff. That's different than
Yeah,
performance.
but yeah, they're not like there's no. I mean, all that stuff affects performance. Turning
Yeah,
those,
it does.
those
But I'm
abilities
saying
on and
generally,
off,
there's quality. Just to simplify it, there's quality with all the fun graphics, and then performance, which prioritizes, frame rates. That's generally, just to simplify it for everybody. But yeah, I guess since the game was already running at 60, it was already good.
Yeah, it doesn't have a. Yeah, the only version of that game that you can kind of mess around with your features on it is the PC version, where you can change the resolution, you can do all that sort of stuff on
Yeah.
there. But yeah, the console one, it just is what it is.
Yeah, very interesting that it apparently has better graphical quality on PlayStation.
It's only just the shadows and some of the anti-aliasing solutions.
Yeah,
That's about it.
wild. Maybe Senua is being positioned as a graphics first game, so adding in a 60 FPS version would diminish that. Maybe, but again, like we said, you want to play that game at 60, play it on PC.
I don't remember. I don't even remember there being a 60 frames per second mode of the original Senua Sacrifice. Or was it? I think we asked this again before.
I think on PS4,
was
PS4 Pro there was.
the Pro one had that ability, right?
I believe so. But somebody could look that up. All right, another one here. Mob Hits. I wish Adam was here for this one. What are you hoping to see / return in Gear 6?
I mean, the roadie run. What are you talking about, man?
The roadie run.
Yeah, it's
The greatest,
all about
the
roadie run.
greatest ability ever. I to be honest, like I don't really care for any of those new characters, like Marcus's son and all those other guys that are just sort of filler spots. I feel like I just want to. I wish we just had the old crew back again.
I got one. I played 5. I didn't finish it. I played several hours. I played with Adam actually. He ditched me halfway through the game. I wish the game isn't at least the campaign. I'm just talking about the campaign here. I hope the campaign isn't as openy worldy as like as the last one was, because Gears is you can make Gears pretty streamlined, pretty straightforward, and just have fun. But then sometimes you add that open world thing, and it's just, I don't know, it just adds a lot more of unnecessary gameplay to this experience that I feel like is there should have. So yeah, that's one thing I hope Gear 6 does.
Yeah, I kind of checked that after 4. Kind of for the same reason Manny said, I don't really care for these characters. And I heard with like Gears 5, they really went ham with the new characters. So it's like, if we're going to keep getting more of that, I'm good, So that's just suffice to say, I don't care about the franchise anymore. We got the first 3 games, and that's all we need,
Yeah, I mean it has fallen in quality as probably since 2, but 3 was still decent.
Yeah.
And then that abomination of I forgot. It's
yeah.
either Ascension or because I know God of War had like the exact same thing with like Ascension, but I forgot what the Gears one was called.
I forgot it too. It was in something with an X or something. I don't know. Retribution. I don't know.
I'll Google it real quick.
Yeah. Brian, do you care about Gears?
I've only played the first one and I think the fourth one, just because I haven't had time to
Judgment,
go back.
Carlos.
Judgment.
Yes,
there you
Judgment.
Yeah. Which one? So which one did you play, Brian?
1 and 4.
Okay.
So to me, I'm just like, I don't really mind, to be fair, what they do, because I have no interest, in the franchise. Again, I'm with Tony. The first one was so much fun and made so much sense. And unless they're going to return to that, then it's kind of like, why? It's like, I think if they did a Gears 1 type game in this landscape now, it would stand out. And I think that's what they have to do, rather than kind of go with whatever the flow is, or whatever's popular these days. So
Yeah, modern gaming.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Gears of War, man. The first one was so good. I remember this was years ago. This was back when Vice still had a gaming division. Brian Crescente was on it. So they invited me to, give my thoughts on the Gears of War franchise at that time. And I was the first guy you see on video, even before the developers of the game. Because I said, Gears of War is like the Predator handshake scene in video game form. And I remember I tweeted
Mr.
that.
Quotable.
Yeah, and I tweeted it out, and even Cliff Blazinski jumped in. It's like, that's perfect. Like, that's the first thing that came to my mind, So I was like, why they got me? I was like, they got me ahead of the fucking Cliffy B? Really? Okay.
Yeah, you're damn right, because it's like it says it right there. I mean, again, Tony, I've always said this. You're pretty damn quotable. It's the reason why your quotes end up on blurbs and shit.
Yeah.
So.
I guess my most famous one showing up during the Apple event before MKBHD. Like, this guy's been around forever, millions and millions of followers. They throw my ass first. Very interesting.
Yo, man, you ain't articulate and shit. You're interesting to hear talk. I'm sure that dude is like, whatever.
Yeah, no, he had a good quote too. But the other thing was, it wasn't one of those things where it's like my name was like there in a sea of others. It was just me and him, and that's it. Like, oh shit, that's crazy. And then the week after that, there was a Microsoft event, and people looking at my name tag like, "Are you that Tony Polanco?" Hilarious.
Yes, I am the.
I'm like, yeah, I am that. I am that dude. All right, so yeah, Gear 6. I'm done with the franchise. I'm good. But the first 3 games, excellent, man. Especially 1. Never played Judgment. I heard it was trash, so I didn't bother. All right, moving on here. Another one from Mr. Mob Hits. Will Hellblade 2 move the needle for Xbox, or will it be Indiana Jones, or maybe Avowed? We said this on the Thursday show. We don't think Hellblade would probably be a very good game, but it's not going to be a system seller.
It was never a system. It was never a system seller, or in the first place, it was just supposed to be, again, a proof of concept of that Ninja Theory could make a AAA quality game for the essentially the budget of a middle A game.
Yeah,
and
pretty much.
I feel like Hellblade is something that, just like a lot of their titles, shouldn't be sitting on its own. There should be something either preceding it or following it. Something like that to just kind of keep the momentum going. Again, every single time they keep releasing their first party titles, they're sitting in a sea of emptiness. Yeah. They're just literally one boat sitting in there, and then you're expecting it to save a bunch of people on an island. Like, no, it's like there should be multiple ships there.
Yeah, and that leads to the problem that we brought up on the Thursday show. Because Xbox so rarely gets first-party exclusives, when one comes out, even when that's not meant to be a system seller, it is treated like that. And when it doesn't meet that expectation, people are upset. And then, ponies jump in and make fun. So it's like, you guys need to really, bring up your output. I know PlayStation has the same problem too, but it doesn't seem as pronounced on that side.
Here's the thing. They have the most potential to have a bunch of things and releasing them fairly quick as soon, whereas Sony literally just killed a bunch of their those service titles. So they literally have an open card for a year at least.
Yeah, they're not going to release anything. But yeah, no, it's like, that's the thing. It could be seen as unfair, where every single Xbox game is treated as that game. This is the game that's going to do it. And it's like, not every game is going to be like that. Even Redfall was treated that way. It's like, come on, guys.
Yeah, Redfall was like, it really shouldn't have been treated that way. It should have been a game that was within a string of titles. That's how you keep momentum. You don't just hey, just drop it. That's not how you win a race.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. So I don't think that's going to move the needle. Indiana Jones, I don't think it'll move the needle either. Avowed has a chance to, if it's really spectacular. But Indiana Jones has the misfortune of being
essentially having its franchise slammed right into the ground by a movie that Disney decided to release.
Yeah.
I would say the better situation for them to catch that momentum would have been to release that game first, before that lousy movie came out, and at least it wouldn't have had anything to do it. I feel like, like even though like they're not fully connected sort of things, like I feel like if you have you have a strong each of these things sort of follow each other, right? It's in the zeitgeist. Oh man, that Avengers movie is really great. This Spider-Man, something's happening really great. Like those things sort of help out those, when you release a connected, a title within that franchise. But like, again, like now since Indiana Jones is pretty much, a dumpster fire, will people even want to get this game?
I don't
Despite
care.
it being made
I know
by,
me. I don't care. I'm done.
I'm fascinated with the game, but I also feel like you missed an opportunity on that one. You literally. So what has Sony been making for the last, I don't know, 10 years or more, right? Probably more. Close to 15 years. Indiana Jones, but with another guy.
Yeah.
Now you have that chance to make that game.
Yes.
Where you're actually playing Indiana Jones, jumping around and doing all kinds of crazy shit, and you didn't do it.
Yeah.
You're not doing it.
Yeah, and then when it will come out, like you said, the franchise is already tainted. So,
yes, the franchise is pretty tainted. So, like, it has two things sort of working against it. Like, as a person who likes adventure games like that, that having a first-person adventure really does not interest me at all.
Yeah, the first-person stuff doesn't bother me as much, but again, I'm just soured on the franchise. That's my main.
I feel like a lot of those, I feel like again, like it's already been made. You literally have a Tomb Raider that was trying to be Indiana Jones.
Yeah.
You literally had Uncharted trying to be Indiana Jones, and then finally when they get the ball, the ball is in their court. They're like, nah, we ain't gonna do that. We're not gonna do what they do. We're gonna make FPS first person indie,
which is interesting, But I guess they had to stand out. But it's two things: that to stand out, and it's machine games. They're not going to suddenly make a third person.
But yeah, Machine Game's strength is a first person game. So
yeah, exactly. Yeah. But yeah, it could be Avowed since that's brand new, and if it's really, really good, it could. I'm not going to say it's going to move the needle, but it could at least be a good look for Xbox. But again, we'll have to see because the Xbox tax is real, people. And by that, when we explain this, I'm not talking about it the way people online talk about it. I talk about it as like they've had so many failures that people are going to have a hard time looking past that. And I can't blame them, So we'll see. Carlos, what do you think, man? You think any of the games are going to move the needle?
Likely no. There's always a chance, but Hellblade 2, like you guys have talked about, it's not that type of game that moves systems. It's a type of game that the critics love and that people that are in the weeds really enjoy. But I don't think it's not going to be something that's going to be like everyone needs to be on Xbox now. That it's not that type of game. It's just a game that everyone's going to enjoy. That plays it, that played the previous one, and might be some word of mouth. You need a constant stream of games. I think that's that's what's necessary with this. If you're going to release Hellblade 2, then a couple of months after that, you need another game that's going to be on that same level or even better. And a month or two after that, or 3 months, another game. That's how you have to keep the ball rolling. You can't just do one game. And this isn't like the only types of games that would move the needle, singular games that would move the needle, if it's a GTA game, if it's if it's a Fortnite game, those are the types of games that move the needle. Hellblade 2 is nowhere near that caliber, so that's why Microsoft has to be on the strategy of, just a small number of games that, all that together to make this huge monster. They do have one, but they're not making it exclusive, and that's Call of Duty. If Call of Duty was a Game Pass exclusive, you sure as hell would see that move the needle.
That would absolutely move the needle. Yes.
But they don't have they're not going to do that. They're going to make that multi-platform like it's been, and that people are still going to be playing it mostly probably on PlayStation, at least in these next couple of years.
Yeah. Brian, what are your thoughts, man? Any of these games that move the needle for Xbox?
I don't think it's going to be an individual thing. I think it's going to be a group effort. But I'm more in this idea that it will just take Microsoft doing this consistently and over time that would move the needle. Because again, as we've said, the issue is that they've just not been putting out good games. So if they're able to give out or put out good games, not consistently, but keep up the idea of, okay, we'll slowly bring out good games and then we build up that reputation again. And then we can be in a position where they cannot have a banger for like 6 months or something. Because as Manny pointed out, like the issue is that although they have one or two good games that quote unquote come out, if they don't keep up that pressure for now, then they lose that momentum, and then they effectively are starting back from nothing. So if they're able to just say, okay, you know what, let's say 1 year where we bring out maybe, again, I know this is not realistic, but it's just an example. They have 1 year where they release 12 exclusives, and let's say 8 of them are like really good. That's a really strong momentum to have, because I think even the PS3 had that, where for like 6 months straight they had an exclusive. Not all of them hit, but they had that momentum, like, okay, March exclusive, January exclusive, May exclusive. I think it was the same year that the SOCOM came out, I want to say. No, same year where Sackboy came out in February, I think. I don't remember what year it was, but that's the idea. I think they just need to bring up the momentum, and then they can say, okay, you know what, we won't have exclusives for 6 months, and people should be okay with that. Because again, that's exactly what Sony's doing. I mean, the last game that they put out was Spider-Man, which was almost 6 months ago.
Yeah.
And there's nothing slated for this year. So again, Sony can be afforded that because they had that time frame of like, hey, years ago we put out a bunch of bangers one by one. Now we're not doing that as much, but people are still here because they know that, okay, when they put out a banger, they put out the bangers. There's no questioning. So I think Microsoft just needs that, and as Manny says, they need to keep up that for like a year or something, and then they can have their time frame of like, okay, we can chill. I was hoping that when we're buying all these studios, that might be the plan, but at this point it seems like the plan is that no one really knows by the sound of it. And it's kind of like, stuff might happen, stuff might not happen. No one knows, I think only Phil knows.
Even that I question, but no, you're right. It's like, again, something we've been saying, consistently put out good games that'll slowly start moving things. Because yeah, I agree. It's not going to be one thing that's going to do it. It needs to be a gradual thing. It's a lot of years, and it literally entire generation's worth of disappointments. You're not going to get over that overnight. It's going to take a while, but it's up to Xbox. You motherfuckers own all these studios. Let's see the games, and again, that also goes back to what I keep saying, because it's like you have all these discussions, hour-long podcasts, longer, asking what can Xbox do to turn things around. It's like, it's simple. Release games that people care about. This isn't like difficult. Like, yes, I'm not saying releasing a good game is easy. I'm saying the concept is easy. The thing you need to do, you don't need to take a fucking course in like rocket science for. Release good games consistently, the people will come, but that's on them, man. So we'll see. All right, moving on here. Another one from about Xbox Alpha Chuck. This one's kind of interesting. Will Xbox Cloud Gaming ever leave beta, or will the service keep this tag as an easy excuse if anyone has any complaints? I'll be honest, I didn't know it was still in beta. That's crazy.
Yeah, it is. It also is not. It also doesn't like I saw somebody like like a few people rating the services,
Uh-oh.
and their cloud gaming actually isn't very good.
Uh-oh. But
When
man,
compared
it's in
to some of the
beta.
Sony
That's
stuff.
why.
Yeah, it's in beta.
There you go.
Sounds like them not trying. It sounds like them not trying to commit to something.
Yeah. I don't know. It makes me think of PlayStation Home. That never left beta either, you know?
Yep. By the way, you know that company that the studio that got closed by Sony, that was the company that kept the studio that kept PlayStation Home running.
Which studio?
The one that the one that Jimbo took a picture of, and then a week later they fired everybody.
Oh,
that's the same company.
You know, I still remember John.
Same
talking.
studio.
Yeah. Fuck home. She's a dollhouse. Yeah, but yeah. Who knows when it's gonna leave beta, man? I have no idea. I didn't realize because I remember testing out when it first kind of launched. This was 2020, bro. You know, and the thing is, it actually kind of surprised me because I was in San Francisco at the time. This was like fucking 3 years before the lockdown. I was in San Francisco, hanging out with Danny in Paris, and Danny was like, "Yo, you gotta try this shit out." And it was like on a phone, you know, on this smartphone with one of those like Razer Kishi type of deals over shitty hotel Wi-Fi. Like, let me try this shit out for real. Put in Destiny 2. I didn't feel any lag. I'm like, this is impressive. But that was just my experience, you know, like maybe generally speaking, it's just bad, you know? Yeah. Anyway, Carlos, you have any thoughts on Xbox Cloud Gaming?
Not really, except they probably don't have that much confidence to. That's what this is all about. I mean, because the streaming service is what it is. So the reason why it's in beta is because they feel like the product is not to the standard that they think it should be. So whenever they get to that point, that's when they'll remove the whole beta part. But I feel like it's like a confidence thing when it comes to your product. If you don't feel confident in your product, then you just call it a beta, so you can have some small absence of critiquing. So pretty much it though.
Yeah. Brian, any thoughts on Xbox Cloud Gaming?
It's strange why it's still in beta, but I guess let's just see what happens. Yeah, for all we know, it could shut down next year. Who knows? Yeah. Again, I honestly have no idea why it's still in beta. It's very strange to me. But probably Warframe is still in beta somehow as well. So it's just one of these weird things.
Maybe Phil Spencer knows. We'll see. All right, what are we up to here? Mr. Bushido, a.k.a. J. Shep. So his question is, looking back at, and I believe this is also the last Xbox question here. Looking back at all Xbox's attempts to disrupt the gaming market so far, have these disruptions, Game Pass, Xbox Series S, acquiring studios, helped or hurt the gaming industry? To be specific, I am not talking about helping or hurting the consumers. Has Xbox's efforts hurt the gaming industry?
I'll go first.
Yeah, go ahead.
I think it didn't. It hasn't done either. I think what's hurting the industry.
Carlos, that was my answer.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Because it's not, these things are not what we play. It's the games that we play. And that's the biggest issue with the gaming industry is the budgeting, the creation, the development, the microtransactions, the missed new game pluses, the broken games, the one releasing one game per studio for a generation or over 10 years to release a sequel for a game people are expecting, or people losing studios losing a lot of their creative minds and having games released that have nothing to do with how the games were supposed to be. It's the way game development is. We're not getting the constant stream of games that we've been accustomed to in the first 30 plus years of us gaming. So Yeah, I feel like that's what's hurting the game industry. These services like Game Pass, the console Series S, and Microsoft acquiring studios isn't really doing much. The acquiring studios is more of just the status quo because they're acquiring, Activision and doing just what Activision does, Bethesda and doing what Bethesda does. Maybe just making some of them exclusive. That's the only thing that changes. So if you want to go say that that's hurting the industry, then that's fine. But I don't think it really matters. Yeah, it's not doing anything in the overall picture.
Yeah, I mean that's my general stance. So I don't think any of these things have hurt or helped. It's just something, And I think for general customers, I know that's not the question, but I had to bring it up. They haven't been affected by any of this stuff. Not really, I know if Brett was here, he just extol the virtues of Game Pass. Yeah, it did well, but it has stalled, so it's not moving the needle that much. Man, I realized it might be a little biased there because I don't care about Xbox Game Pass. But no, I don't. I kind of agree with you, Carlos. I don't think it's really helped or hurt. It's just existed. It hasn't really done anything monumental, But I could be wrong. I don't know. Brian, you have any thoughts on that?
Well,
Manny, you go first since you were talking.
oh no, Brian can go.
Okay, go ahead, Brian.
I have the exact same thoughts as Carlos and you guys. It's just there.
Yeah,
It is cool that stuff like this exists, but again, they're not the first to do it, so hence they're not the pioneers. By the sounds of it, they're probably not the best to do it, and it just seems like they just seems to be the biggest to do it, because we had GeForce Now, and then pretty much all the other publishers just killed it because they were stupid, and it doesn't work. Well, it's just not the same that it was. So the streaming thing isn't a thing, and there was even Gaikai before that, So
Yep. Yeah.
the whole xCloud thing was done before, but it's just kind of got weirdly fucked over by different people.
Sorry, Brian, just to interject real quick. What was it? OnLive? What was it called?
OnLive was the other one, yeah.
Yeah, that's the first one. That's like the first mainstream one that I remember.
OnLive was the first one I remember as well. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think it's just more of a case of they just happen to be the most in the realm of streaming. They seem to be just the most successful so far to do it, because all others have just not. They've either existed or got bought out and don't exist anymore, or they were gutted. I think if Steam were to ever enter that market space, then Steam would dominate just by virtue of how well they organize things and how well they plan things, because obviously the Steam machines were Steam machines.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think it's just a case of they just do things and they're just consistent enough that it just holds, and that's it. Because again, I don't see many people talk about xCloud or Game Pass in that sense. It's just more a case of, oh yeah, that's a cool idea. And then it is a cool idea. You get to take your games wherever you want and play them. Cool. Can't complain. But again, as we just said, they need games. So the things go hand in hand. You can advertise the two at the same time. It's like, hey, we have all these games, and all these games are on Game Pass. Look at them, buy them both. Or take your pick. Do you want to buy them physically, buy them digitally, or get them on Game Pass? You choose, and that's it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Yeah, but very interesting. Another one for Mr. Bushido. All right. Now no more Xbox for the rest of the show, maybe or not. I'm really enjoying Final Fantasy VII Rebirth so far, but the combat system can use an overhaul, in my opinion. What's the point of blocking or dodging when you can't evade attacks? And I hate pausing the game to use magic. Unpopular opinion: the combat system should have stayed turn-based. What are your thoughts? Yeah, this is something we discussed obviously when Remake came out. Even though some of us here would have preferred turn-based, we know that wouldn't have sold as much. There are obviously turn-based RPGs that are still popular, like Persona and Pokemon and stuff like that. So we're not saying it's not viable. We're just saying if you want to sell to a bigger audience, you need to make it, real-time combat. And I'm saying this as a person that likes turn-based, so that's one with that. And then, I don't have a problem with the combat in Final Fantasy VII. I think it does a really good job of balancing like the immediacy of real-time combat with the strategy of turn-based, like quote unquote pausing the game. Even though I kind of consider it slowing the game down. That's part of the strategy too. And it gets pretty tense as well. I enjoy it. I like the way they did it because I feel some games that try to do the whole like middle ground of turn-based and real-time doesn't work as well. I think they do a pretty good job of it. So I don't have any complaints with it. And again, I understand where they're coming from. So kind of hoping that it had a different combat system. It's kind of moot now. We're in the second game. They're coming out with another one. They're not going to change the combat system, and they didn't really change it too much between games, which I'm fine with. I'm okay with that. It still has, again, playing a strategy. It's very immediate, and in my opinion, it's fun. I really enjoyed it a lot. I liked it a lot more than Final Fantasy 16. I like Final Fantasy 16, but since you were just kind of stuck with one guy, the strategy wasn't really there. You get a full, more robust combat in Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. But I also understand where you're coming from. As for the question of what's the point of blocking or dodging, it's really more to mitigate damage than to completely stop it. You can, in some instances, completely avoid it, but it's like, because there's still kind of a turn-based thing going on underneath. So it's like, if the enemy takes a turn, something's going to happen, and there's like hidden dice rolls and stuff like that. Remember, these are still RPGs at the end of the day. But personally, I like the combat. Carlos, what are your thoughts? Since I know you played Rebirth, right?
I played some of Rebirth. I haven't finished it yet. It's a good question because there are some aspects of it where it's like it's more it stops it like a turn-based game like they mentioned in the menu selections when you're checking your items or getting a potion or whatever. But like Tony mentioned, it's one of those games where if you keep it turn-based, it's not going to be as successful as Square Enix needs it to be in order to keep releasing them. At least that's what I think. You can still make a successful turn-based game, but it just won't be the same. It does have its faults. I do agree the combat system isn't as robust as other combat systems in other types of games. It's more of a kind of like on training wheels sort of combat system. It doesn't get as hardcore as Demon Souls or the Souls games or Devil May Cry or anything like that. So it is what it is. I feel like it's fine the way it is. I wouldn't say I'm like the biggest fan of their combat system. But I'm not one of those people that say, it needs to be turn-based to go back like how it used to be.
Yeah. So it's interesting because we literally had this conversation 4 years ago. When Remake came out. Yeah. Like literally the same conversation, So I'm pretty sure when whatever the third one's going to be called, it's going to pop up again, All right. Yeah.
I say, and this is more on a technical front, but it'd be interesting to know that they should do a game that has both as options, and you can choose which one you'd rather play as. That way, after 2 years, they can come and say X% of people that play the game played it this way, and compared to that way, and actually see, okay, what do people actually prefer, and do people switch back and forth or whatnot? Now, I understand technically that's a big challenge in many ways, but I think it will be interesting just to actually see, okay, like this is the actual breakdown numbers, like you have a point of comparison, so you can say, okay, this is how things are. Yeah. So that's my wish list for Final Fantasy 17. I guess I'm certain that 17 won't be a live service. 14 is still going strong. So,
Brian, would you say that's your fantasy for Final Fantasy?
Yes, it is.
Well, it could either be the mainline one or the MMO one.
Oh God!
Sometimes they got the MMOs to slide it into the numbers.
By the way, I'm still bothered by that. I'm like, why couldn't you just call it Final Fantasy Online? Why did you have to stick a main number on there? You screwed things up. You know, that bothers me. It's like, like every time I always have to put that caveat. Like, these are my favorite mainline, offline Final Fantasy games. Like, Jesus Christ, you know? It's like, stop it. They literally could have just called it Final Fantasy Online, then Final Fantasy Online 2. That literally it. But, boy.
They could have done the same to the online -2, like they do.
Yeah, exactly.
The other game.
Final Fantasy Sati 2. Tabo. You know? -1. That's literally what I thought too when I saw that shit. You know, it's like Final Fantasy, because the first time he did was on Final Fantasy X, like Final Fantasy X-2, and I just heard Turbo, you know, just like Street Fighter. Fucking insane, man. How you gonna have a number of a number? You know, 10-2, what? And then 13-2, crazy.
Oh yeah, they did it with 13 as well.
Yep. All right, man. Moving on here. Sponsored question here. Mr. Romudeth has sponsored a extra Mob Hits question. All right. Okay, Mob Hits. I'm just gonna be honest with you, man. You should have reread this question because I had to heavily edit it because I didn't know what the fuck you were talking about. So I think I got it right. But we shall see here. Lately, I've quickly gotten over games I was initially hyped about. Have you guys ever had this happen to you? Does your hype for a game run out after you played it? This recently happened to me with Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. So I guess he's trying to say it's like, you know, he's hyped for a game, then he plays it, and then he forgets about the game. So
that same level of excitement still doesn't persist after starting it or after it comes out.
Yeah.
That happens to me a lot.
The thing is, kind of common? Like, it's like you play the game, you're done, and that's it, you know?
Yeah, well, I mean, part of the question is like, he says after you've played it.
After
it's part of the question.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of like you mentioned, sort of like a natural thing. I mean, you finished it. For me, it's even like sometimes like Rebirth, I was super hyped for the game, but you know, I started playing it, and actually, the funny thing, I beat the demo, and then the first part of the game is the freaking demo, and that killed the hype for me. I was like, I already played this.
Yeah, I did this already.
So, yeah, I'm like, yeah, come on, man. So,
yo, man, just saved and transfer over. What the fuck? You know?
Yo, man, the Stellar Blade does this. Why didn't this game?
Yeah, that's crazy. Yeah, and I can see that. So I guess the situation you just described, it sounds like what Mob Hits is asking about, you know?
Yeah. Because, you know, sometimes you go in like super hype for a game, and then, you know, I mean, I got another example. Red Dead Redemption 2.
Uh-oh.
I freaking love Red Dead Redemption. And then 2, when it came out, I was super hyped for it. But it coincided with a freaking trip.
Always.
So, you know, the one thing led to the other, and the hype died down. And I still haven't freaking beat that game.
Yeah. So I guess you could interpret this question two ways. It's like after you've beaten the game or after you started playing the game.
Yeah.
You know? But generally speaking, once I beat a game, I'm good. You know, I'm not one of those guys. You know, we get asked this question often too. It's like, what game do you come back to replay? I'm not that type of person. I'm done with the game.
Well,
you know, sometimes we come back with Monster Hunter sometimes, but it's when with new content. You know,
there's also the games like, for example, BioShock Infinite, Cyberpunk, where you beat the game and you're like, damn. Like it just leaves you like thinking, like you keep thinking about the game, and it's like, and you go to YouTube and you're like, I'm looking up all the videos of what the hell's going on and all that kind of stuff. Go to Reddit. So I think maybe that's like the hype is still alive after you beat the game.
Yeah, that's a good point, because even with Cyberpunk a year later, I was still thinking about it, you know? So yeah, but again, that's a rare thing. And it got so crazy that I had to go back and replay it. You know, thankfully the game was fixed by then, you know? But yeah, by the way, Bliss says, I read it as when you finally get and start. Yeah, I mean, there's been instances like that where you play a game, you're like, oh yeah, this isn't exact, like the hype, the game doesn't live up to the hype. That's kind of rare too for me, because I kind of have a good instinct about what games I'll like. But it's been some cases too where I'm like, what the fuck is it? Those are the instances where I don't listen to my instincts. Like this fucking game, I think it was called Driver. It was basically British GTA, right? And I bought it just because I was playing. By the way, GTA 3 fucked me up for a year, man. Every game I played after that was not as good as GTA 3, and I hated it because of that. You know, it's like, no, fuck that. It was real with GTA back in the day with me, man. GTA 3, Vice City, and San Andreas, it ruined other games for me for like 6 months after the fact. And Red Dead Redemption 2 did the same thing as well. Rockstar, man, power, you know. It's like it fucks up other games because they're too good, you know. Bliss says you are hyped up to launch, and then when you finally get it, you realize it's not as hype as you thought. Yeah, that happens. That happens. You know, I understand it. Yeah.
I call that the spider sense moment.
Yeah,
when you could somehow sense there's something off, and then you literally just don't even buy it. That's
every time I don't listen to that, I have regretted it every single time. You know, and sometimes that happens beforehand too. Like it reversed. Like you're hyped for a game, and then a couple of weeks be like, hold on, spider sense is going. You know, perfect example. When they first announced Forspoken, hyped as fuck, right? Then they actually showed the demo. I'm like, spider sense is going off here. You know,
Tony,
what's up?
That's not the chronological order. They announced Project Athia. We were hyped. Athia, yes. Then they changed it to Forspoken. We're like,
and that's when the hype started going down. That's when the hype started going down. And then as we've seen, obviously, the game is absolute fucking garbage. I think I gave it a 2 out of 5. That is the lowest I will give a game that's not broken. You know, like absolute terrible shit game. You know, but yeah, Brian, have you ever had this happen to you? You get a game that you were hyped for, you're like, this is the limit to the hype.
Watch Dogs.
Fuck. Damn, I think that's all of us, you know. You know? Except for me. Manny was never hype, yeah. Or the
Division, the spider sense went off on that one. I was like, nah, I'm not liking this.
Watch Dogs. Oh my God, man.
Yeah, we didn't listen to the spider sense on that one, but the thing about it, we thought was like what we saw wasn't even what they gave us.
Yeah, at all. You know,
it was an utter lie.
It was a lie.
It was a lie, and and it was just like we bought that game thinking it was the next gen, and it was like, wait, when you finally see it, like, wait, what the fuck happened?
Right? Mm-hmm. You know, that's the ultimate catfish, bitch. You don't look like that. You know. Go ahead, Brian, because wasn't that the first game, the game that made you go, I'm gonna stop pre-ordering games?
I think technically, well, on a general scale, yes, but Cyberpunk was the one that said just no overall, regardless. So it was Watch Dogs was just don't pre-order games that you're not too sure on, and Cyberpunk was don't pre-order games even if you think you would enjoy them. So just like a underline of just no. But yeah, that Watch Dogs trailer, I still remember it to this day, and it looked so good, looked so interesting. It's like, okay, this is it. It looked next gen. Like when people say, "Oh, this thing's next gen," like no, Watch Dogs, it looked next gen compared to what we had, and it's like, okay, this is the next generation. This is visibly, systematically different. It looks different. It feels different. It's a different game. And again, as you guys said, that's not what they gave us. They gave us just, I don't know what they called it, but yeah, it was a big shame.
That's
And
the worst. Oh, go ahead.
Well, I was about to say, like, one of the really annoying parts is it actually had some really good story beats to it. Like, it touched on human trafficking, something that these days you really, well, not these days, just in general, you don't see plots about human trafficking in the majority of games because it's a very tough subject. And I was like, okay, this is, again, interesting. But then the story beat was dropped in half an hour, and it's like, come on. You have something interesting and then you drop it. And then I guess that's a whole feel for the game, something interesting and then they dropped it. Because Watch Dogs now, no one knows what it is. Like the last release was Legion, which was towards the start of the gen. And
Oh man,
that's it.
I remember that shit. Although with Legion, my spider sense was already going off, to be honest. And my spider sense was right. But thankfully, I didn't have to buy that. I just reviewed it. Blitz says for him, it was Horizon Zero Dawn. Everyone was hyping it up, and man, I did not click with that one. Took me years to even bother giving it a second chance. I know he didn't like the sequel either. Yeah, some games just, don't click with people, man.
That was me for Horizon Zero Dawn. I didn't at some point. It was like I was impressed with it at first, but I was just like, I don't know, something about it. And I'm not feeling like I want to go into this world. And then also, I'm not the biggest fan of open world games. So
Yeah.
had a couple of strikes against it. So I just said, yeah, you know what? Eh.
For me, that game was the reverse. Like when they first announced it, I was like, well, we'll see about this game, And then I bought it, and it was the right game at the right time for me because I had been so disappointed with last gen for the first 3 years. Then this game comes out. I'm like, thank you. You finally given me a game I could really sink my teeth into. That doesn't. Every game that came out that that I liked had an asterisk next to it. Like there was a problem with it, even though I liked it, right? Except for whatchamacallit, Shadow Mordor, right? That was okay. But then 2015, we had Metal Gear Solid 5. Great game until the third act, right? Final Fantasy 15. Great game until the third act. Every big game had something wrong with it. Or I should say, every game that I was anticipating, and that's why I kind of don't count Shadow Mordor. I wasn't anticipating that one. It just came, and I was like, holy shit, this is awesome, But every game I had hyped. Right, but then Zero Dawn came out. I'm like, yes, this is fucking awesome. It was great, and then obviously that set off. That game to me kicked off 2 years of really solid game releases. 2017, 2018 specifically. But I also will admit, I kind of wish I had played Breath of the Wild before Horizon. I played Horizon first, then Breath of the Wild. Breath of the Wild. Like, I can admit it has good gameplay, but the graphics look so shitty compared to Horizon. I'm like, I can't do this. I beat the game, obviously. I forced myself to beat Zelda, right? But man, Horizon made every game look like crap after that for a while, because remember when that game came out, it was around the time, it was right before, no, I think it was after the PS4 Pro came out. So they were really pushing the whole OLED HDR thing. I remember when I saw it it was at PlayStation Experience for the first time. They had a big fucking TV. I'm like, holy shit, this is crazy, So yeah, that game, man, like the graphics is nuts. And even the sequel, Forbidden West, even though that game is on both PS4 and PS5, it looks fucking next gen. I can't say that about Ragnarok. Even when I'm playing Ragnarok, I'm like, oh, I'm very aware I'm playing a last gen game, just with shined up. But with Horizon Forbidden West is like, yo, this is crazy. Graphically. So shout out to those games, man. That first one was like, it really turned things around for me last gen. Last gen, I was about to write it off just like I'm about to write off this gen, I'm still waiting for that game for this gen, by the way. There's no game that's really blown me away this gen. There's some good games, don't get me wrong. Nothing that's like, this is the game. This is the game that, makes this generation. Although, going back, the game that really made last gen for me was Red Dead 2, and that was the ass end of it, All right, moving on here. Oh, real quick. Lotus Esprit What's going on, man? He goes, I quit pre-ordering games also. I'm waiting for PS5 Pro and whatever the next Xbox to play current games at the best frame rate. I respect that. I could definitely respect that. You know, here's the thing. I have to be on the ball because, you know, I'm in the industry. I got to be on top of shit. But if I was just a regular dude, I would just wait too. That's probably the best thing. Wait, get the games for cheap. You know, you don't need to be getting games day one, you know. All right, moving on here. Dumeke, who's been joining us all night. His question is, I saw some people in the chat. Shout out to the Discord gang. I saw some people in the chat talking about controllers and how many break on them. Does the Throwdown panel go through that many controllers per generation? If so, how many and why do they break? The only controller I've ever broken was an Atari 2600 controller where I snapped the stick off of it. As it took ages before my parents agreed to replace it. We lived on a farm, so we weren't often near game retailers. I learned my lesson to look after my shit. The whole concept of people breaking their game controllers is fascinating to me. 'Cause I've never done it. I've been gaming for over 30 years. I've never broken a controller, ever. You know? I think the only controller that eventually stopped working on me was a Sega Saturn controller way after the fact, after I took it out of the closet to play Street Fighter 4. Yes, I bought a fucking adapter and had it hooked up to my PS3, but no, I've never broken a controller, and it's always been fascinating to me when I see people going, I go through so many controllers, and see, I'm like, what the fuck are you doing to your controllers, bro? The only controllers I've had break on me, and this is why I hate this fucking company, Mad Cats. Cheap ass fucking controllers, man. Pieces of crap never last more than 3 months, you know? But like main controllers that come with the system, never broken any. So I'm like, what the fuck are you guys doing to your controllers? Take care of your shit, you know? It's like, come on, what are we doing here? You know? By the way, go ahead, because I got a fun side story to tell you guys, but go ahead, Carlos.
Here's the worst thing that should happen to your controllers if you're not handling them with disregard. It's stick drift and the thumbstick sort of the grip kind of wearing down.
Yeah,
that's the only thing that should really be messed up with your controllers after using them for such a long time.
Yeah, I've had the grips like go off on me, but you could buy replacements. But like break, that's never happened to me.
Yep.
Yeah, Manny, go ahead. I already know your answer though.
What was it? What would that be?
You haven't broken your controllers.
No, I've never broken my controllers. I mean, I do know Chris has actually broken his controllers before.
But yeah, never. I'm mad.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, he would be able to tell you best, but yeah, he's broken them a few times, just like, you know.
Insane.
I've never gotten to the point where I've actually broken a controller because I'm like, motherfucker, these shits cost so much money. I ain't gonna break this shit. You know?
Yeah.
Especially with these modern controllers, the new PlayStation controller costs like $70 or used to cost $60. I'm gonna take care of that thing until like gold.
Yeah. Whoa, shit. So Blitz says, I remember talking to a guy who went through Xbox Elite controllers every month. That's an expensive ass controller. What is he doing with that thing? Like hitting it with a hammer?
That thing's supposed to last you the whole generation.
Yeah, what is this? I sometimes question how some gamers play their games, man. Because I'm like, you know, after years, you know the exact amount of pressure to press to have your button input like be detected. Like, what are you guys doing? You know? Brian, have you ever broken controllers?
No, I'm with Manny on this one. Like, I just take care of mine. Like,
I take care of my shit. You know?
Like, what? I think every year or so, or every 6 months, depending on how often I use them, I'll actually clean them. So, go through rubbing alcohol, clean the stuff, make sure that stuff is clear. Even go through and take like a needle and like clear out all the weird gunk that gets stuck in between the cracks and crevices. You know, again, you just need to take care of your stuff, and that's. I'm just surprised, like how do people break them? You know, I can understand just okay, you get angry at a game, you throw your controller. I understand it. I'm not saying that it's justified or anything, but I understand. You know, it's anger, it does that. But still, it's like, why and how do you break controllers? I mean. Are you just crushing them, or are you just like twisting them? Like, I don't know. It's weird. You know, it's like, are you doing that to your Steam decks? You know,
Don't do that shit. You know. Yeah, and I'm glad you brought up that point too, because yeah, you got to clean your shit too. It's not just about not hitting them hard. It's like you got to go in there with the little thing and like clean it up. Some pointy, like you open them if you know how to do that. Like go in, clean the shit. It's like, come on, people, what are we doing here? Take care of your stuff. It's crazy, man. By the way, I got to throw this quick little side story. I hope you don't mind, Manny. So Manny back in the day was not a guy who lent stuff to people, because people broke his shit, and initially he didn't want to lend me anything, but then he saw the way I was taking care of myself, and then I think you only lent me one thing. I give it back to you, it's fine, and then you've always lent me stuff after that, because I took care of your shit the way I take care of mine.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, like people, a lot of times people would just like treat the stuff just like not like to be honest, like if you have somebody else's stuff, you should treat it even better than what you treat your own stuff.
Yes.
So like, yeah, I always had like, I'd load things to friends and like they come back broken and they're like, I don't know what happened. I'm like, all right, whatever, man. You don't know what happened.
You know exactly what happened. And the reason I never pushed you on that originally is because I had that same fucking trauma. Lending shit. And sometimes I don't even get it back. Oh, I don't know what you're talking about. Like, bitch, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Give me my fucking shit back. Fucking nuts, man. Take care of your stuff. Take care of people's stuff. Like I got see. Remember how easy it was to scratch up CDs? My shits weren't scratched.
Yep.
Only if I lent them to motherfuckers.
Motherfucking Evil Chris, man. I knew it.
Shit? What happened, Carlos?
I'm pretty sure Evil Chris did something like this, man. I just know it.
Yeah, he was pretty good.
Evil Chris would take care of his shit.
He takes care of his stuff.
Adam, on the other hand.
Excuse me.
Adam would not take care of your shit. And then he would pull this sort of thing like, oh, I don't know what happened. I just I'm like, yo, first of all, it was hard enough getting the shit back from him. Like I lend him a CD and get it back from him. I'm like, hey, dude, can I have my CD? Finally, I get my CD and it looks like somebody he used it as a fucking coaster. And I'm just like, oh, well, I don't know what happened. I'm like, why don't you buy me a new CD, man?
No, you're right. Yeah, no, Evil Chris took care of himself. The only thing was like, because his house had a very specific fragrance to it. So when you get your stuff back, it smells like his house, whatever incense his mom had in the air, But it was in good condition too, And Mike was good with his stuff as well,
Mike, you get stuff like if you loaned anything, he'd give it back to you and he'd come back just as you did as you gave it to him. So yeah.
This guy's got to break something. Man,
gotta
break something. I don't know. It just that's how you gave it to me, bitch. I didn't give it to you like that.
It would be all these excuses. As so I'm like, come on, why don't you just buy me a new CD and just like we just call it a day? And I'm like, whatever. It wasn't. Yeah. Well, I guess it wasn't worth it, right? But anyway.
Manny, it got to a point with me, like I would go, hey, Manny, you want your thing back? You're sorry, you can hold on to a little more. Because you knew.
Yeah, I mean, I know I get it back. I get it back when I asked for it, and it would be, and it would be in good condition.
Yeah. Yeah, like if you lend me a game, I just put it with my games, which you already know they're being treated well. Put it with my books, because my books are good, Like, take care. Like, if you're going to buy something, keep track of it. But then again, I've had that problem when I was a fucking kid. This is why I purposely didn't want to have friends when I was a kid, because these little pieces of shit would come into my house and either like break my toys or smear them in candy or all this other stuff.
Yep. All of the above.
I'm like, I took care of my toys, man. Fucking assholes. All right, man. Last two questions of the night, people, from Cuban Boss. All right, first one up here. Is anyone on the panel gonna fire up Elden Ring to dust off the cobwebs a bit closer to the DLC release just to be ready? I'm going in blind, man. Fuck that. Raw, learning on the fly, baby, or relearning, Because if you start Elden Ring now, man, you're going to get lost in it again,
Yeah, I'm doing the same. I've been thinking about just going back to Elden Ring in general.
Yeah.
Because freaking the algorithm, man, I don't know how the hell it figures it out, but it's the last couple of months has been recommending nothing but Elden Ring videos. and I haven't even searched it. But so yeah, it's one of those things where I want to go back, but I'll just wait till the DLC comes out, and I'll just like Tony, I'll go in blind.
Yeah, I'll just go in blind. That's gonna be good. Did any of you other guys play Elden Ring?
Me? Have I played Elden Ring? No, I haven't
No,
played
you
it.
haven't. Okay, I was because sometimes you play some Soulsborne games.
Yeah, but that one didn't interest me because went back to the whole knight thing, and I'm a little bit done with knights and stuff.
Yeah, Brian, did you play Elden Ring? I don't remember.
I didn't have much of an interest. It looked cool, had cool ideas, but I was like, nah, I'm alright.
I have a feeling, Brian. I have a feeling you're going to play Elden Ring 2 years from now. You're going to be better than all of us.
Oh, chances are no. Again, Souls games, I kind of feel like they have a set way you play them, and I don't enjoy that way of playing games. So, but it's cool that they exist.
Yeah. All right, cool. And the last question of the night. I always see these bullshit surveys that companies post regarding which franchises they should resurrect. I recently saw one where Capcom asked which franchise is to bring back. Mega Man, Omnimusha, Sengun Basara, and so on. Have you guys ever seen an instance of a company actually resurrecting a franchise based on these surveys? I really like this question because I don't think I've seen that. Like, how many times have you seen Sega? Do you want Virtua Fighter back? And everybody's like, yes. Never bring it back. So no, I can't. Me personally, I can't recall an instance of seeing these. You see these all the time. What do you want to see back? And they never bring the shit back. Never. So I don't know if you guys have seen instances where actually make good on their promises. I'm going to take that as a no.
I don't ever recall this going on.
Same. Yeah,
but Mega Man is due, man. It's still a big-ish franchise, and people play it if you come up with a good one.
It's crazy because I think it was Mega Man 11, right? I think it was Mega Man. Yeah,
yes.
It was. So when that dropped, we had been waiting for fucking years, right? And now it's been years since that. I'm like, what are we doing?
And then before that, it was Mega Man 9.
Yeah, we had Mega Man 9 and 10. They were like the kind of retro throwback games. Those were fun,
yes.
And they came out pretty close to each other. But you're right, between Mega Man 8 and 9 was a fucking while, Mega Man 8 was not a good game. That 3D one.
Not so good.
Yeah, and then, Mega Man 11, where's that shit at? Mega Man 11 was so much fun, man. That was a good game. But Capcom, I don't know. As for the other ones, Omnimusha, they've been asking about that. Sengun Basara, where's Riku at, Remember we watched the anime for Otanime? That was a fun one.
Oh, yeah.
Motherfuckers screaming, Black Metal Gamer, if Twitter was a game, what kind of game would it be? A stupid game. Oh, man. A game I don't want to play. But yeah, I've never seen an instance of these surveys actually, living up to the promise. It's hilarious. All right, man, it's going to do it for us. So let's start plugging some stuff. I want to plug the fact that the Invincible podcast is back, baby. Even though it's only one episode.
Whoa.
So we were able to wrap up the final half of season 2. It was me, Carlos, Richard, and Dana. Very good episode. It was about an hour and a half covering all 4 episodes. Invincible's the shit, man. Go watch that. Fuck X-Men 99, whatever the fuck it's called. Go watch You Some Invincible. That, as Richard said during the show, grown man animated superhero show, some real shit. They're not fucking around, man. They're still sticking with the comics. They're not doing any dumb shit, which I'm happy about. And the last episode specifically was written by Robert Kirkman because he's part of the writing team. Hence why we're not really getting any nonsense. Again, I saw this interview with Robert Kirkman. He's like, yeah, we're just lazy. We're just doing what the books do. It's great, Yeah, go watch You Some Invincible, man. And hopefully we don't have to wait 2 fucking years between seasons, Like, I'm not even exaggerating. It was 2.5 years, Fucking nuts, man. So yeah, go check that out. over on the Coalition with a K, coalition.com. Carlos, anything else going on the Coalition that you were involved with?
No, I Am Negan is now officially under a hiatus since Those Who Live, the Rick and Michonne show, has completed its first season. I don't know if we've gotten a word yet whether there's going to be a second season. More than likely it is. But yeah, it's in hiatus until further notice.
All right. Do we have anything else to plug? I think that's pretty much it. Man, you got anything?
Nope, that's it.
Nothing you could talk about,
Nothing I can talk.
Man, he's always cooking something, but you guys have to wait.
Always cooking.
Always cooking. Good stuff, man. All right, man. Make sure you follow Throwdown on Twitch and Twitter. Join the Discord where the conversations and the rumors are always popping. And yes, we are back on the YouTube, so make sure you hit like, subscribe, and hit the bell to be notified of when our premieres go live. You can also find us on every podcast app by searching for us. Throwdown Show. It's 2 words. Throwdown Show. Throwdownshow.com to listen to past episodes. And yeah, for everything, just check out the links below to find out where we are, man. We're all over the place. Once again, our show is Tony Polanco, and tonight I was joined by Emilio Lopez. You are muted, sir.
See you next time.
Yeah.
See you next time.
Carlos Romero.
Peace out.
And Brian Manjoma.
Apparently, Stellar Blade is out here killing people somehow.
Yeah, apparently. All right, people. This is nonsense. We'll see you guys on the flip side later.
Deuces.